everyone, thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel. Today I'm talking to a very dear friend of mine, Emma Howard, who I met years ago. 4 or 5 years ago now. 4 or 5 years ago, in the workplace. I don't know what it was that first attracted me to Emma. Maybe it was the shoes.
No, it was your shoes that attracted me to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Mutual love of shoes. I always think that you can tell an interesting person by how interesting their shoes are.
You have very good shoes. It's all true.
So Emma at the time was really like, in terms from a style perspective, was kind of like, I always called her the Carrie Bradshaw of the office.
Which means bad hair, yeah, bad hair and lots of shoes. No.
So I met Emma many years ago, and we bonded. There was a moment in a really bad meeting where I think we bonded.
Yeah, it wasn't well run at all, and we'd both done what we needed to do. So we didn't really need to be in the meeting.
No, exactly.
We had one of those wonderful moments where you make kind of mutual eye contact. Both of you think,
what are we doing here?
What are we spending our time doing?
Yeah.
I think was the question.
So that's how I met Emma, and then since then we've done all sorts of things together. We've been roomies, we've been away on retreats.
Yeah, we have. It's
amazing. 7 days of juice. Emma was one of the first people I wanted to kind of bring on to the YouTube channel, because I want to have these like sort of conversations, so just kind of quite informal. But obviously one of the things that we have talked about quite a bit over the last few years is you losing your mum.
Yep.
And I've learned a lot, kind of like listening to you and kind of seeing how you've gone through that, like, and it's just been, obviously it's had a huge impact on your life, but I've learned so much, and I just thought that there is probably a lot that you've got to share with other people that could, you know, just be really useful. And you're just so funny as well.
Thanks. There's a lot of pressure, right? There's a lot of pressure on me. It's whether I can make my dead mom hilarious is the question. No, so I think you're absolutely right. One of the conversations that we were having when you asked me to come and do this, and thank you for having me. I know it's been a huge success, because everything you do is, it's that really difficult line of, you know, you lose a parent, it's a huge thing. But I think I said to you, I was really keen that it didn't define me, because what I do see a lot of at the moment, and I think we have a lot of grief memoirs and a lot of, you know, grief survivors and things like that, it becomes something for a lot of people that is kind of the thing that defines their life. Whereas I see it as kind of part of me rather than the one thing, you know, and that's why I was really keen to come and have the conversation, because I do think we don't speak about it at all. Or it's the first thing everybody.
And that was almost the one thing I really wanted to talk to you about, to get an understanding, because I think I said to you that, you know, literally a couple of weeks ago I met somebody who said, you know, they lost their mum and then they went into work the next day and literally nobody mentioned it at all, almost as though it hadn't happened. But then when I spoke to somebody else, they kind of said, well, actually I didn't want anybody to speak to me. So I guess my first question is, how does somebody get permission, or how do you know even how to tackle that?
And actually I think there's an interesting thing around that, which isn't just when someone's passed away, but when perhaps someone's ill. So my mum was ill for a very long time, and what I found, particularly when I was at work actually, is people can't really distinguish between ill and dead. I know that sounds odd, but like, you know, she was still alive up to the point where she wasn't. There was kind of almost a piece of people thinking, I felt, is it not over yet? Is it not done yet? And that's really stages to this kind of grief that I think people need to be kind of aware of and to help people with. The thing which really helped me, and I have spoken to a couple of other people who lost someone they love, or even I think, because you obviously suffered the loss of your aunt, what I always liked was someone acknowledging and saying, I heard that this has happened and I'm so sorry. And that's all that you need to say, because actually we live in a culture where we like to try and fix things for people. You can't fix it, And there's a wonderful, wonderful phrase that Glennon Doyle uses, brilliant American writer who I think you're going to feature at some point. She's awesome. And she talks about bearing witness. So somebody being in pain, and she describes it sitting outside their bedroom door. They're in their own pain, but you just let them know that you're there. And that's what I found really powerful. So the people who just messaged me and said, I'm really sorry. And then it really gave me the choice, because some days I wanted to talk about it, but some days I couldn't. I didn't even want to think about it. It then gave me the choice to give them the permission. And it was quite different for everybody. So I really, that's probably what I would do, and that's certainly something I try to do now if someone's suffered a loss. It's just the words I'm sorry opens the whole door for them to then
speak or not speak if they don't want to.
You know, rather than, and I will share this with you and your subscribers, but I did have somebody say to me, very well-meaningly, but say to me, I'm so sorry your mum died. Thank you. I know exactly how you feel, because my cat died that weekend. And I said, and I was like, oh, because I love animals, so I do appreciate it is a loss, you know. And I kind of said, oh, I'm so sorry, and I then got a very long thing about how the cat had been ill, and I was like, and I said, but you do realise, I said, just it's really nice that you shared that with me. I said, but they are quite different. And this person said to me, in what way? I said, well, I have lost a beloved family pet, and obviously I've lost a parent. And I said, it's quite a different relationship you have with a cat and your mum, really. I did find there were some distinctions. And she said, in what do you mean? And I said, well, number one, my cat didn't give birth to me, so it's slightly different. And number two, I didn't carry my mum through the house on a shovel to bury her in the back garden. So, it's a completely different scenario. And I think often what people try and do is offer up something of their own to try and empathise. Yeah. But actually what it makes you think of is... it's very different. You
can't possibly,
No. So that, I would advise... I knew that the person meant well, right? And I kind of took it all with a bit of a pinch of salt, but I really would advise probably, you don't have to do the comparison. Yeah. And I think I've spoken to you before, hadn't I, around saying grief trumps as well. You often find that something bad happens, someone goes, well, I lost this or I had this, and actually the best way you can help somebody, I think, is just to give them the permission to say whatever they want to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as you were kind of going through, I guess, especially like with your mum being ill and all of that whole sort of like cycle, and then with her passing, what do you wish you had known before? Were there things that kind of happened that you thought, why does nobody talk about this? Why was that such a surprise for me?
Yeah, and actually this was where what was really helpful for me was my mother had some very good female friends who'd been through lost parents of their own, and they were able to kind of help guide me through some of the process, and we've lost that a little bit. It's a bit like you have like a doula for births. You don't have anything for death, really. Yeah. So the thing which I wished I'd understood is what that process of dying looks like, because I didn't understand it. Right. So I kind of thought, maybe it's because I'm quite target driven, but I kind of thought, right, well, we get you to your death and you go to sleep and you don't wake up and it's fine. Yeah. And I think I said to her actually the day that she had died, and I was sat with her, and I said to her, well, we did it. Like, we got here and she had as peaceful a death as she could have in the circumstance. We got here and we did it. And I kind of remember looking at her and I said, I knew you were going to die, I just can't cope with you being dead. It was really odd. Yeah. And these kind of women were very, very respectful of me in terms of you have to unfortunately go through it yourself. And, touch wood that it's not soon for anybody, but unfortunately it's something that touches everybody. They were able to say to me, right, okay, if she's having a good day today, this is kind of how long it might take, because no one tells you how long it will take the process of someone to die. And I had not realised, Cheryl, actually how the medical community, and they were amazing, I mean the NHS was just phenomenal, but they don't know when people are going to die either. So it's a complete...
There's science to it,
and actually there's even definitions around what makes somebody dead. It's really interesting, I wish I had understood that, and I tried to look it up several times, and it's kind of what you get is people say, then the breathing, and I said, no, I don't want that. I want to understand, what does it look like? What conversations should I have now? What conversations can I afford to save? At what point will it begin? She won't come back. And I think, that would have been the bit that I'd have liked to have known.
And why do you think there isn't as much of that?
I think because it is so hard to tell. I think it's because actually everybody's death journey is normally different. I remember saying at one point, I was in the hospice with her for about a month, as you know. I remember saying to somebody at one point, if somebody went into labour in front of me, we talk so much about birth, I don't understand what to do. We have no concept of what that process looks like at the other end. And I think there is a cultural shift, but I suppose I feel that the death movement, as it were, has become much more focused on the grief that we feel once somebody's gone, as opposed to the process of getting to that point. Because I always said with my mum, she brought me into the world, and it was my privilege and my duty to witness her leaving. But there isn't anyone will tell you. So I'll give you an example. What often happens is that people wake up and rally, normally about 3 or 4 days before they die, which I only found out after it had happened. So she'd been unconscious for about 2 weeks, and I came in and she was perfectly compos mentis. So we had like a really nice conversation, and I was like, oh my God, like, they're wrong, she's never going to die. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously she then slept until, she's fine, she's it's a miracle. Are you faking? Like that. And that's the bit that you don't talk about. And actually, this is the bit where, I think I said to you, didn't I? When there's a funeral or when somebody dies, what I think we love as a society is almost the glamour of someone dying, right? Probably started when Diana died, actually, we can all mourn, right? We like the kind of, it reminds us, and my life is so short. And you get to wear a black hat, and and everything looks lovely. And I think you found this when you were, kind of planning your aunt's funeral. The actual process of dying is amazingly tedious, long, if you're lucky, exhausting, and you still have the relationship that you had with that person, so they still irritate you, at times. Just because they're dying, that doesn't change, or you irritate them, and actually, finding the way to say this is your show and you can have anything you want. is the challenge, and we just don't talk about it. It is difficult.
No, we don't. Why do you think we don't talk about it?
I think because we're very afraid. I think that in a world where we can mitigate everything, right?
And can manage everything, you know.
So, you know, I look a bit tired, I could put some makeup on, clearly not today, but normally, or, you know, I can get Botox, or I can get younger, and because we fetishise youth as well, I believe, nowadays, you know, there isn't the natural cycle, and also, you know, you think your grandparents would have had people die in their families, in their home environments, whereas what we do now is we take our elderly and our sick and our dying, and we move them out. So I think it's a cultural thing, and I think also we can get very, very focused on what the dying have to teach us. And my mother used to go mad about this, so I remember often people go, just remind you life is so short. And she was like, I don't exist, my illness doesn't exist simply as a reason, as a lesson to you, you know? Although there were lessons out of it, but you know, so I told you, I've got a very, very well-meaning friend, she's a lovely person, who often says to me, you know, whenever I feel bad about my life, you know, I just think about yours. I was like, awesome. My life's great. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like I had a great mom. I still have a great mom. It's just that she's not alive anymore. The only thing I lost was time with her. There was even joy and beauty and tenderness in being able to care for her. Yeah. But because it doesn't look glamorous and it doesn't look nice and you can't post it on Instagram. I don't know whether we really appreciate it.
I think in particular nobody really talks about that bit, because it was so, you know, when my aunt passed away, you know, similar sort of illnesses, and it's not pretty at all at the end, awful. You know, it's very, but nobody really talks about that bit at all, you know. So, you know, I've had friends where I've sort of said, and I think I might have said it to you at one point, you know, are you getting any help? You know, have you got help coming in? Because even things like that, how to know when to get help, because physically it just becomes actually quite challenging.
It does. Or when to understand that the person who's dying still wants to keep a level of dignity themselves, and often they don't want the family member to have to do things for them. Well, that's certainly what I found with my mum. Yeah, it's really fascinating, and I think you often don't think you want to get help, because what I found was, I thought, well, really odd. I was like, she'll die really soon. Well, she didn't, and then when she did die, all I wanted was more time. It's really, really odd. So what I would say to anybody is try and enjoy the time for the gift that it is, because you know, God love the people whose family members die suddenly. There's a different level of shock with that, and I couldn't comment on it because I haven't experienced it. But the time when my mother was very sick actually was a gift, and I wish that I had, maybe you can do it in hindsight, but I wish that I had felt that way at the time, instead of thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I don't want to get to the end of this process, you know? That was odd, and I think, you know, nobody wants to feel like their life is a lesson to everybody else. Unless you're Oprah, in which case we just love that. But, you know, you are like, you know, please don't use my life's fine. Please don't use it as an example of why you're so glad you're not me.
What were some of the things that helped you the most, either at the time or kind of since then, in terms of kind of getting through
it? You is one thing. You're an absolute gift to me. So I'm really lucky that I've got some absolutely beautiful friends. What I found really helped me was the permission to still be myself. So what tends to happen, I think we have an idea of what dying people should be. You know, they suddenly become saintly and delightful when perhaps they've been difficult before. And you think the people who are doing the caring and everything are saintly and, you know, doing it. Actually, I would take off at any one point, I'd probably take like a day off a week from being with my mum. And my friends were great in that we would go out and I would be me again. So I would laugh. So, you know, I love to laugh, right? And my mother and I actually roared with laughter in the hospice at several points. It was hilarious. So some people might find that humour's quite dark. I actually, it was a coping mechanism for me. And then after she died, I was very lucky in that pretty much most of my very close friends just got in their cars and drove to the house and all sat around. We had like really, you know, I can't say we're the life and soul of the party, we all sat there, but they just let me be, and that was really lovely. So that has helped. Since then as well, what's fantastic is if you can still talk about the person. So often people don't want to talk about them, right? And I find myself talking about my mum quite a lot, and it became, I actually talk about it more now than I think when she was alive, interestingly, because you kind of, you know, you assume they're always there. So that's really powerful for me, and I have lots of pictures of her in my home, and I talk to her actually in my head quite a lot, and that has helped. You know, coming back to this witness thing, someone just giving you permission to be sad, or for you to say, I need to just take myself away for a couple of weekends, because that's what I do quite a lot, you know, I kind of cocoon. And beyond that, actually, what I found really helpful, walks and massages. That's like a simple thing. I like how long walks, and I like a good massage, right? And that is, and time actually. So people often say time helps. I don't think it necessarily does. So I think of my grief as something that is growing and evolving and changing quite a lot. And I found going into this new year very difficult because I didn't want to be, she died in September 2017, I didn't want to be another year away from her, from that Sunday God. I actually found that quite hard, which I hadn't anticipated. And just people saying, no, I'm really sorry, and remembering it, that's always lovely. Yeah, that's great. When she was hilarious, and you think I'm funny, she was much more, much better than me. You know, it's a gift for me that I've actually been able to see my mother as more of a rounded person rather than just my mom. So, you know, I read all of her books now. I've got, you know, all of her letters and things that I kind of am starting to go through. And that's, you know, the chance to be able to know somebody who you've known all your life but you only know of is in one role. You know, I'm getting to know the 18-year-old her through the letters that she wrote to, you know, her family, which is amazing, you know, which is amazing. So that's what kind of helps, I think. And I think for other people, they prefer to either completely forget about it or they can really labour it. You know, I don't lie in bed all day thinking, oh my god, my mum is dead. And actually, if I could be really clear, what also helps, and I think people should really think about it a lot, medication. So you aren't built to go through these type of scenarios. You have to grow your resilience. And actually, if, you know, anti-anxiety or depression pills or anything like that help, there's no shame in that at all. We should be, you know, we should be doling them out to help people just take the edge off. Interestingly, I came off, I think I said to you, I came off my antidepressants when she died because I wanted to feel it. I wanted to honour her by really feeling it. That was fine. It was once the dust has settled and the funeral's done and everyone else goes back to normal and you're just left there going, that's when you can need the help. And I think often people don't give themselves that permission.
Absolutely, And it's interesting, one of the things you said there about sort of saying time is a healer. There are almost all these, they're almost like things that you say on like Hallmark cards or something, do you know what I mean? And I'm sure I probably said you a
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
But there is things like that, you know, time is a healer. Or, you know, I've heard people say, for example, you know, on the first birthday, the first Christmas, you know, everything that first year. So it's interesting you saying actually, even coming into this year, 2019, you know, it's still, and it's different, and it's still painful, and it's still, you know, it's quite...
And it evolves. It's really odd, and I hadn't realised that. And, you know, there's something very visceral as well, I think, around it being your mum. And I don't want to grief top Trump. I see your dead mum, I raised you, whatever. There's something very visceral around that. I think I said to you, when she died, I physically felt something twinge. I felt like whether it was, I like to call almost like a spiritual umbilical cord, whatever it was. I felt it snap. It was very, very distinct, really odd, and I've never heard anyone talk about that, but actually it's exactly what happened. And that's something that, you know, lives with you. I think I talked to you about feeling untethered for a while after. So it's like, your mom knows where you are all the time, but the kind of stuff that helps is not the time heals everything or that it will get better, because sometimes it will just be shit, right? But equally, it isn't my only thought in my head all the time. I'm not always like, my mom's dead, but you cry. And you sent me something beautiful, actually. I remember I was in the hospice and it had been a very long couple of days because I used to be there a lot. And you sent me a message which basically said, I don't know what to say to you to bring you comfort. So what I'm going to say is just, you know, that I'm thinking of you, I'm kind of praying for you, I'm holding you in my heart. And you sent me a beautiful, the words to a beautiful hymn, which was around you standing in the dark and there's someone else there, you know. And I think I said to you at the time, I went and locked myself in the toilet and had a massive cry over it. But like, actually it's cathartic, it's lovely. And that's the type of thing that, well, I love you so much, that's the type of thing that is where people can be so kind and so helpful. Saying, you know, I see your loss and I'm so sorry for it and I can't
take it away, but
and nor actually should you want to, because grief is a natural part of life, which is why I feel uncomfortable with this whole like grief warriors thing. It's a natural part of life, unfortunately, and it is directly proportionate to the amount that you have to lose. So actually, for all of us who live blessed lives and have people we love, this is coming through everybody. It's a gift to grieve so deeply because it's a gift to have had that person. So you remember there's I think I've sent it to you before, there's the Winnie the Pooh quote. Obviously I know he didn't write the book, A.A. Milne, right? But Winnie the Pooh said it, who says, how lucky I am to have had something that makes saying goodbye so hard. And that's kind of very much, that's how I kind of like to play it. Because would I have rather not had this pain and not had her?
No, exactly. How, in terms of going through everything, how has it changed you?
Oh, I've said this to you before, haven't I? So what's happened with me is that my capacity for empathy's got a lot bigger. So I feel much more connected to people who have lost something or someone, right? I feel more tender, actually. I feel nicer as a person because my heart got smashed open. So I feel, and I think you probably see I'm more open now than I used to be. And I'm less bothered about kind of, well, as you can see, less bothered about, you know, kind of appearances and things than I used to be, because we all end up in the same place anyway, it doesn't matter.
Perspective, isn't it?
But so my empathy's got much bigger. What's happened is my tolerance is down to almost zero nowadays, right? So what it means is that when people whinge about stuff, I have and when I say whinge about stuff, you know, we all like, I can't find a car parking space, or this is irritating, and this is my job. I do get to a point of JFDI, right? Just, you know, do it or don't do it, but shut up about it, right? So it has made me in some ways much more empathetic, but much less sympathetic.
Right.
Which is something that I wouldn't say I like about myself, but I kind of know it is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
I don't mind it with random people. I prefer that with my friends, when they're going through painful things. I would hope that it has made me more able to offer that help. It has made me less sympathetic of scenarios where people don't really have problems that aren't solvable, you know?
And I think there's an honesty to that, you know, you're just being genuine, basically, aren't you?
There is a line, so Cheryl will know, it's an unpopular statement, but I used to say this quite a lot, where I was like, hashtag dead mom, do you remember? It's like, because
that's going to be your book.
It's going to be my book, hashtag dead mom. And it was deliberately, a lot of people didn't get it, because I would say it quite flippantly, and what it was meant to be was actually not, this is a massive social media movement of dead parents much. It was meant to be, we can choose to use these things as massive excuses, right? I could have laid in bed for the last year and a half and been like, it's okay because my mum died. Yeah, so the camera went off because it doesn't like hashtag dead mom either. So what it's offended. I do love that as well, that people were like, you know, I'm offended by this. Well, keep walking. So yeah, what I was trying to say was it's not necessarily an excuse, and I do think we use things, something can be a contextual thing for somebody without it being an excuse around how you can behave. Yeah. So I kind of used it as a almost tongue-in-cheek, quite humorous thing, and it was interesting for me how many people felt really deeply uncomfortable with that. Yeah.
Do you think that's because people are generally uncomfortable about the topic anyway, and almost then actually because you do use humour a lot.
Yeah, I do.
And you know, is that almost what people were offended by?
Yeah.
The fact that you were using humour about the death of your mum, you know?
Probably. And I just realised actually it looks like I was the world's most miserable person, because I said, yes, I do like humour with a complete deadpan. Yes, I'm really funny. It's interesting, I come back to this point of, we're very comfortable when people do things in a way that makes us feel okay.
Yeah.
So there is a prescribed way to grieve, right? Which is that I wear black all the time and sad, but not angry. You know, and this is particularly true, I think, of women. You know, we've talked about this before, this fine line that you have to be passionate but not emotional. You know, you have to be ambitious but not bossy. You know, and it even came down to that of, are you even allowed to kind of grieve and deal with it in the way that you want to? So that has changed me, I think, in that way, and that's kind of alright. People can deal with it however they want to.
So when is your book coming out?
When's my book coming out? I need to write it. It's interesting. So Cheryl was insistent that I was going to write a book, weren't you, around this experience. I did think it might be the most miserable book on the face of the earth. So I was like, fantastically depressing. But actually the tone of it, I have been writing, but the tone of it has changed quite a lot. I think I said to you last week, in terms of rather than being, oh, my mum died and this is awful, which seems to be a lot of because grief is a sexy word at the moment, right? There's something around, how does life continue to go on after this? Because it has to. Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point, you know? And there was something my mother said to me, and I don't mind sharing this, when it was getting very close, one of the last conversations we had. And I said, are you afraid, to her? And are you afraid? Because this is, you know, it's terrifying. People are, you don't know, and to watch somebody who you love go through, you know, looking at their own mortalities is terrifying. And I said to her, are you afraid? And she said, no, I'm just going to miss you so much. You know, that tone to me of, life always goes on, it has to, and this is natural, and we have to get to a point where we are able to see death as a really natural part of life, and rather than us raging against it all of the time. And I know that's really hard, because you've got, you know, you've got your anger and you've got your, why does this happen? But that's where I'd like a book to go. And actually it's alright to laugh. You know?
Absolutely.
I think I said to you at one point, I went out on a night out when my mum was dying, and someone from work was a bit like, how can you be having fun, you know, when your mother's is ill? And I was like, well, I don't just sit in a room staring at her the whole time. There is a life. She was bored of me by the end of it. You know what I mean? Like, there is a life that goes on, and that's what we need to do with people who are suffering, you know, these huge life-changing losses. Because actually, it's their game. They can do whatever they want.
Absolutely. And you've managed it so brilliantly.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad.
With aplomb.
I'm glad you think so. I can't say that I always feel it my way. And actually, giving yourself a break is an important thing. It does mean that you feel more exposed, more deeply. But thank you for everything that you've done for me. You're such a blessing.
Thank you.
Such a blessing. Thank you for letting me be your first guest.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I feel like I'm on Oprah.
Amazing.
I feel like I'm on Oprah. But yeah, I think I said before, you have countless gifts, and it is amazing to see you start to share the wisdom and joy and just energy that you bring to things with a wider audience. She's very good.
Enough already.
But no more new friends, because otherwise I'll never see you. All right. So
thank you so much, Emma, for being my first special guest.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you guys for watching. So, subscribe to the channel. More of this sort of conversation, more life-changing stuff, I guess. If there's stuff that you want me to cover, people that you want me to speak to, just let me know and I'll do my best.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Bye.
As I look formlessly at the camera.
I thought it might have gone off towards the end.
Camera went off because it doesn't like hashtag don't bomb either. So it's offended. I do love that as well, that people were like, I'm offended by this. Well,